Cool. Yeah, so over my kind of 4 years working full time, and obviously I've having a lot more time outside of work, getting the chance to kind of speak to some business leaders. I've noticed that there's a lot of businesses who work solely on premises, some that work cloud, and some that work in hybrid cloud. And I find myself often asking myself the question: is the hybrid cloud just an excuse not to commit to one technology over the other? So I thought I'd ask you on your thoughts of that, and if you have an argument for one or the other, or
Just an
along those lines.
excuse to not commit. Yeah, I mean, excellent question. It's both incorrect and correct, I would say, which is again a cop out and just an excuse. But yeah, I would say to break it down to in its kind of bare bones, historically, hybrid was a solution where people can start slowly getting exposed to the benefits of the cloud, right? They could start using and leveraging the benefits, all the pros in the cloud, and start understanding how it can be used, and again making sure the users can use it and stuff like that, through things like Exchange Hybrid. Back in the day, obviously, it was the identity, so AD was synced through AAD Connect, but now it's Entra Connect. You had things like SharePoint On-Prem, SharePoint Online, you had the synchronization, hybrid search. And again, all that was basically to say is we've got the SharePoint On-Prem, we're keeping the data there. We're also got a SharePoint Online, which is basically all the cloud. There's no link between them, apart from if you use the search functionality, it can search the on-premise farm for data, and it searched the SharePoint Online farm for data, which obviously is really cool functionality. But in reality, really, you probably just want SharePoint to all be in one place, and I do get that. But it was a good strategy because not everything was amazing in the cloud. I mean, it's still not everything amazing in the cloud, of course, but it's a lot better now than it was. And so that's not a cop out. That was a good idea. There's also things like dependencies of things on prem. You've got a legacy application, third party applications that depend on, or I guess, bespoke tech that use these legacy applications that are on premise. And the cost and effort it would take for you to recreate these and move them to the cloud is, it take a long time. Or again, like I said, remap all these dependencies, remove from these dependencies, and put them as the SaaS and PaaS solutions that exist in Azure. It take a long time to do that sort of thing. And what I've seen in my workload is the prioritization of projects is also key. So, for example, if they have on-premise file shares and they want to move them up to SharePoint OneDrive, they want that done now. But there's also third-party applications, let's just say, that save data to these file shares in certain areas. Well, they're not going to completely kill that file share then, because that automation is using that as its this destination. So you would move all of the departmental data to SharePoint, the user data to OneDrive, but you've still got these file shares on premise that are using, that are being used to dump data in. If that data, that automation is in the roadmap for change, it might be in 3-4 years' time. They want to move the data now, so you have to kind of move all that data up there. And even though that's technically not hybrid, it's still leaving behind some legacy data and functionality on the on-premise system. So yeah, I mean, there's benefits of using hybrid. In some cases, the ideal approach would be that yes, we just remove all dependencies and we remove all that kind of stuff and we just move to the cloud. But the reality is hybrid is there for the interim, for the period of time where you aren't ready to fully cut over. But I'm interested in your approach because this was your question, so I imagine you might have a slightly different opinion to me. But yeah, please do tell.
Oh, no, you made some super good points there, especially when it comes to legacy applications, and we've seen this when working together, Adam, when legacy apps can't be fully migrated, and we have to look into alternate solutions. Now, I think there is also an argument for keeping everything on premises, but I didn't really want to talk about it too much because I want to talk a bit about my experience with working with fully cloud businesses. When it comes to device management, whether it's virtual machines, laptops, and the policies that are deployed, we're talking about autopilot and essentially system administration. This can nowadays all be managed in the cloud, especially in the Microsoft suite, which is where me and Adam are most comfortable. Kind of work with businesses that don't even have a single piece of on-premises architecture, but yet still manage to have some of the best and most robust kind of security that I've seen in some business over my time here. And you look into the security scores, you look into the policies and the management of the device, and you just think this is fantastic. It's a great base, and when this organization grows, that base is going to stay there, and that security baseline will not disappear. So I think, especially considering that a lot more businesses nowadays are moving towards software as a service solutions and platform as a service solutions, a cloud-only kind of future is looking a lot more possible for those businesses that are looking to migrate. And I think that eventually we'll probably see on-premises kind of die out over the next few years. I know that a lot of support for on-premises stuff is kind of diminishing over recent times. But yeah, that's kind of my opinion on it. I haven't worked in it, and personally, I think it's better. I think it's easier to work in a fully cloud managed environment than it is to have to bother around with kind of syncs. And we've all been there a million times. Even even engineers who deal with simple support tasks have had to sync AD, go in and do it manually because a change needs to be done straight away. So it's even stuff as simple as that. When it comes to hybrid cloud, it's just it can be a pain. But yeah. That's my opinion on it. I do think it's a good question, and I think that your response was very apt, very straight to the point.